If you've ever had to water down your words just to avoid being labeled aggressive, you're going to feel this one in your bones. Smash that like button, subscribe, and get ready for a revenge story that plays out one email at a time. The office was buzzing that afternoon. Deadlines, coffee cups, keyboards clicking. My coworker, let's call him Mark, leaned over my desk with a draft email. "Can you look at this?" he asked, smirking. I scanned it quickly. The message was clear. The recipient was lying. And Mark. He said it outright. Blunt. Direct. No sugarcoating. And my gut reaction wasn't about the facts. It was about the tone. Because here's the thing. If I sent that email, the fallout would be brutal. Suddenly I'd be combative. Unprofessional. The woman who escalates things. So I told him, carefully, "Mark, this really escalates the tone of the conversation. Maybe that's a choice you want to make. But are you sure you're ready to go there?" He frowned. Read it again. Then shrugged. "Yeah, maybe it's a bit combative. But how else do I say it?" And that's when it hit me. This was my chance. Not just to edit his email, but to make him feel what women feel every day. So I said, "Let me show you how I'd write it." I sat down and rewrote his blunt accusations into carefully curated phrases. Asterisk instead of "you're lying," it became, "My understanding of the situation is a little different." Asterisk instead of "that's wrong," I typed, "Could you help me understand why your version doesn't align with our records?" Asterisk instead of certainty, I sprinkled in question marks. Please. Softeners. Deference. It was polished. Respectful. Completely stripped of the fire his version had. When I spun the laptop back to him, he blinked. This feels so apologetic." I smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. "Exactly." Mark shifted in his chair. "So you really write like this all the time?" I looked him dead in the eye. Every single day. And that's when it hit him. The realization sank in like a stone. The freedom he had to speak bluntly, directly, without consequences. That wasn't mine to have. He could call someone a liar and still be assertive. If I did the same, I'd be emotional, angry, maybe even on the verge of a breakdown. And watching him sit with that truth, that was the beginning of my revenge. #####4. Escalation. The world he never saw ****. Over the next few weeks, Mark came to me more and more. "Can you look at this email? Does this sound too harsh?" Every time, I softened it. Every time, I pulled out my toolkit of disarming phrases, deferential wording, smiley face punctuation if necessary. And every time, I watched his jaw clench. Because suddenly, he was living in my world. A world where you can't just say what you mean. A world where every word is a minefield. A world where you spend more energy tiptoeing around egos than doing your actual job. One day, after rewriting yet another email, Mark slammed his laptop shut. "This is exhausting," he muttered. I raised an eyebrow. "Exhausting?" "Yeah. Having to, sound polite. Careful. Like you're afraid of making anyone mad." I leaned back, arms crossed, and let the silence hang for a moment. Then I said, "Welcome to my world." The look on his face, that mix of frustration, embarrassment, and dawning respect, was priceless. He finally understood what I'd been trying to explain for years. Not through lectures. Not through articles. But through lived experience. He had walked a mile in my inbox. And once he saw it, he couldn't unsee it. He started speaking up in meetings, pointing out when female co-workers got interrupted. He stopped laughing when someone called a woman aggressive. And the sweetest part? Now, when he writes his own blunt emails, he hesitates. He second-guesses himself. He thinks twice. Because somewhere in the back of his head, he hears my voice. What if you were a woman sending this? That's the revenge. quiet, lingering, a permanent shift in perspective. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone, it's about educating them so thoroughly they can never go back to their old ignorance. My coworker thought I was just editing an email, but what I really did was show him the invisible cage women are forced to work inside every single day. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and tell me in the comments. Have you ever had to change how you speak or write just so people would take you seriously? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories where revenge comes in ways no one expects.